I represent the Ukrainian English language newspaper and website, the Ukrainian Review, and we have a couple of interviews with the different interesting people who take part in this war for the independence of Ukraine, because it's the war starts not 2 years ago, but more than 8 years ago, nearly 10 years ago. And we have now Peter Fouche, who is volunteer and medic who serve in one of the units on the front line in the Donbas region and close to the Ukrainian-Russian border. And could you tell us a little bit more about yourself, about your background before the war?
Yes, good evening, Stanislav. Thank you for inviting me to talk to you today. Excuse me. I was born in South Africa 49 years ago, and I came to England, and I've worked in England and lived in London for 25 years. I naturalized as a British citizen. In London, I drove taxis, and for the last 4 years before I came to Ukraine, I was a construction carpenter. And also before, and when I was very young, I joined the police force in South Africa. I was in Port Elizabeth Flying Squad for 3 years, so that gave me some kind of military experience. Yeah, I was a construction carpenter in London. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and and an ex-wife. They live in London. And yeah, that's my background. Yeah.
Now, what was your personal motivation to join the Ukrainian armed forces?
My personal motivation to join and Ukraine, to help defend Ukraine, was it was very simple and very sudden and very impactful. It was one very sad moment. I was sitting in my lounge on my sofa watching TV. My mother had just come from South Africa to visit me in London. And on TV, I was watching the news and I saw children being raped and murdered. On TV, I saw the news about children, Ukrainian children being raped and murdered. As an ex-policeman and as a father, I have a strong desire, as any parent does, to want to protect any innocent child. And that was my motivation. My direct love for my daughter created an explosion of care, if I can put it that way, an explosion of desire to come and help and care and protect the children of Ukraine. And that was it for me. And I shouted upstairs to my mom that, "Mom, I'm going to Ukraine," and the rest is history, as they say.
And what is your mission in Ukraine? So I read not a lot, but several articles, and in one of the articles you mentioned like a volunteer. In another article you mentioned like a sniper, like a military man. So what is your mission now? You help the Ukrainian unit with medical evacuation, or you took part in the frontline battles?
Yeah. So some of what you have read is true. Some of what you have read is completely untrue. Right now I'm a medic in ZTU. I'm a contracted soldier in the armed forces of Ukraine, and I've been a medic for the last year and a half. I joined the army 5 months ago. In the year before that, Project Constantine, the charity that I started with Tatiana Millard, who subsequently passed away 5 months ago, sadly. She was driving another donated vehicle from England. Tatiana was born in Bakhmut, but she lived in England for the last 17 years. She was driving another vehicle to Ukraine. She had a terrible accident near Pokrovsk, and she passed away. But my mission in Ukraine, was since I arrived here, was an instructor. So I was teaching soldiers how to shoot and some combat tactics. And then I started Project Constantine, which was doing humanitarian deliveries and rescues around Ukraine for civilians. and that evolved into casualty evacuations of injured soldiers in and around Bakhmut, and eventually in Serebrynsky, Lis, Kremina Forest. And that has evolved into me now joining the army as a full-time medic.
And from your point of view, what do Ukrainian combat medics need the most now? More trainings, more coordinations, or supplies, or evacuation equipment, for example, some protected medical vehicles? What they need?
Yeah. One word: vehicles.
Vehicles. Yeah.
100% vehicles. There is often a shortage of medical supplies. There's often a shortage of decent tourniquets. But these things, Stanislav, often get in my experience, these needs often get met. It can be a day or two of a unit being short of decent tourniquets, and a couple of phone calls, a few internet posts, a little bit of Nova Posta, and it's all sorted. My one-worded answer to your question is medical evacuation. 3 words: medical evacuation vehicles. It is the biggest and most endless need out here. The vehicles are getting destroyed. Donbas eats cars. Donbas eats cars. Donetsk eats cars, sorry. The roads out here are like the craters of the moon, and the vehicles don't last long, and they are very expensive to repair because there are long queues at all the mechanic shops. And vehicles, especially now because of all the enemy FPV drones that are out there.
So the most casualties is the result of the FPV drones used by the Russian forces?
Right now, I would say so, yes. FPV drones and minimotes, mortars, artillery, yes. But in my experience, most of it is from FPV, yeah.
And how you can decrease the level of this danger? Can you say that the Ukrainian forces need more anti-drone systems, or I don't know, some artillery, different calibers, or instead of these, more and more FPV drones to use against the Russian side? What is your point of view?
So there are certain measures that a person can take. For example, you can have an armored vehicle with and it needs to be really thick armor, which makes the vehicle slow, and it makes it large. It makes it a bigger target. So there are very many drawbacks for having a heavy, bulky armored vehicle. It also makes them extremely expensive and unaffordable. Anti-drone systems like the REB systems, the drone jammers, excuse me, they are also expensive, but they are gettable. But no sooner do we install them on our vehicles and the bloody Russians change their frequencies again, or they invent a new drone with a new frequency. So we're always chasing their technology, or they're chasing ours, should I say. My short answer to that question is we need more artillery. We wouldn't be in this ridiculous FPV tennis match if it wasn't for the fact that Ukraine is being starved of life-saving artillery and long-range rockets and aircraft. The fact that we have to play catch-up, or the fact that we have to play catch-up with children's technology. I'm talking about children's toys. Drones are, in my world, drones are a child's toy. The fact that we're using drones to combat the Russian Federation is absolutely laughable. They've got every single bit of heavy metal there that exists in the world. Every piece of metal hell-bent on destroying and crushing Ukraine. And we're expected to save Ukraine, this beautiful nation, with a little piece of plastic with four plastic propellers on it. Are you kidding me? Where is the West? Where is the artillery? Where is the help? This full-scale invasion has been going on for 2 years. Nothing takes 2 years, Stanislav. Nothing takes 2 years. If somebody invades a NATO country, boy, oh boy, they're going to be sorry within 7 seconds of having invaded or had anything bad to say about a NATO country. There's going to be aircraft carriers and helicopters and all sorts of hell coming to that person. But because it's Ukraine, whatever their reasons are, and we're being hung out to dry. So yeah, my answer is, forgive my long-winded answer, but my answer is we need artillery and we need those weapons that have been promised us for such a long time.
And what is your opinion? Why the European countries and Great Britain, not part of the European Union, but the great power in the great power as a nation and as an army, why do they do not send aircraft 2 years ago? Why do they do not send some missiles? So I know that it was under the discussion in Germany, but why do United States of America do not support Ukraine fully? What is the reason why? Because you hear 2 years or near the 2 years, and you know it from the deep inside, and you can tell your voice to your friends, to your neighbors, to a lot of the people in the world, and you are not alone. So dozens and dozens of people from Ukraine say that Ukraine need more help, because if Ukraine fall, the next will be the European countries. So why they just silent up to the now?
I think there are a couple of reasons for that. One of those reasons, I believe, is the lies and the false propaganda that is spread about what is happening in Ukraine. I don't think that the world knows. I don't think that Western politicians are aware of how bad the situation is out here. I don't think anybody outside of Ukraine has a full grasp of how bad it is out here. Yeah, they might have their people that give them information, but I don't think that sorry, I'm digressing. Let me come back to my answer. Let me start again. Why are they taking so long? I believe that there are a lot of lies and false propaganda being spread about Ukraine, and how desperate the situation is here, and that Ukraine is strong and the army is strong and we are full of fighting spirit. And all of these things are true, but there is only that much. There are only X amount of soldiers in Ukraine, Stanislav. We don't have an infinite supply of military-age males. I think that the West is under some illusion that Ukraine is going to sort this out for itself. I think that the West is probably under some illusion that they stand at risk of being punished by Russia somehow. And the other reasons I have, I don't know. I don't know why they are. My truthful answer is I don't know why they are taking so long. I don't know why. Are they Stanislav, I have to be honest with you. Some of my questions, some of my theories are probably quite controversial, and I probably don't want to air them. I don't want to start sounding. I don't want to start. Say again.
Could we say that it's more political question than a military question? Because
yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Let me come to that. I have been a long time irritated and frustrated with the amount of politics and the amount of policies and the amount of red tape that needs to be sorted out before a decision gets made, before somebody wants to release weapons for Ukraine. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of medics working around Ukraine, like myself. I just came back from 2 days on the front, Stanislav. I was so tired. My hands, I was pushing hemostatic gauze into soldiers' wounds. My fingers were cramping up because I was so tired of doing this. It was like digging potatoes out of the ground all day long, and your fingers start cramping up. Stanislav, there are not enough medics and there are not enough soldiers in Ukraine to wait for the West to decide that it's going to be a good time to now send weapons and now send aircraft, etc. What I'm saying is, put your policies and your bullshit on hold. Give us the weapons that are going to help us protect Ukraine, that are going to help us protect Europe, and figure out all your paperwork later. Human life is the most expensive thing on earth. Innocent lives of innocent people, of innocent families, women and children are being brutalized every day. And everybody just goes, 6 more months and we'll send the F-16s, 3 more months and we'll send some more artillery. And one country's got artillery, but he wants another country to pay for it. It is absolutely disgusting. And you know why? Because they're not here. Bring them here. Come to Donbas. I will give you a tour. I will take you right there to the front. I will show you the limbs and the eyeballs and the cheekbones and the elbows of my fallen comrades lying scattered all over the battlefield. I will take you to the crushed houses. I will take you to the blown apart apartment blocks where you can find the remains of innocent families. Maybe then you will go back and sit around the table with your parliamentarian friends and decide, okay, you know what, actually, boys, let's do something about this. There is no excuse. There is no, I don't believe for 1 second that there is any policy or any political red tape worth this much life, worth this much murder, and worth this much damage. Ukraine is being rolled up like a red carpet. The red carpet is the red flag of Russia, of the red of the Russian Federation, and it's being rolled up in a concrete crusher, Stanislav. It is apocalyptic what's happening out here, my brother. Come down here. I'll give you a tour. You cannot. They systematically bomb everything into history. There is nothing left. You don't. You know. They're killing and murdering and blasting apart as they travel. They don't need to destroy so widespread. It's their mythology. They are erasing Ukraine from the map of the earth, and it's brutally evident out here.
I'm really very sorry that you go through this hell, but today we have a bad news that Kharkiv was bombed by the guided bombs, and the Russians adopted the old bombs at the range of 80 or 90 kilometers, and they started to bomb the civil town since the 2022. So it's very bad news for Ukraine and for the Western allies, because Russians are not so helpless. They are smart. They adopted to this war and then continue to produce more and more weapons. So maybe my last question is, could you tell that somebody on the front line from the Ukrainian or from the foreign volunteers wait for froze this conflict? Because a lot of the politicians in the West Europe say that this conflict must be frozen, must be stopped. But what is your point of view? Because you're on the front line and you know this war much better than the politicians in their cabinets. What is your point?
So your question is that we should possibly freeze this war where it is and let them have what they've got and we keep what we've got, yeah? Is that what you're pretty much saying? Okay. So my answer to that is very clear. To anybody who's got that kind of an idea, forgive my French, and you can use a different word there if you want to. You can bleep me out or you can re-record that. My answer, again, without swearing, Stanislav, is, okay, we can do that, but what about the millions of Ukrainians that are trapped out there? What about the hundreds of thousands of children that are trapped out there? What about the mothers and the brothers and the sisters of all my Ukrainian comrades in the armed forces of Ukraine who've got family out there in occupied Ukraine? What's going to happen to them? What about all the priests? What about all the churches? The priests that are being tortured because they wouldn't give up their churches to the Russian religions? What about all the churches and religions that are being crushed? What about all the children that have had their names and date of births and identities erased and changed into Russian names? What about all the families, the young girls that have been raped, that you cannot tell their vaginas from their anuses anymore because they've been so brutalized because the Russians raped them so badly. I'm talking about the young girls from Kherson and Bucha. How can we leave our brothers and sisters out there and just freeze this war? So we freeze the war stops, but for eternity, we will know that half of us are out there living under that brutalist regime. It is absolutely not even considerable. It is not even something we can consider. It cannot even enter the mind. Russia needs to be stopped. Russia needs to be pushed back to beyond its borders, and it has to happen. And if it doesn't happen, keep those weapons, because you're going to end up using them for yourselves. And I'm talking to Western governments. Ukraine is doing you guys a big favor. Give us the weapons we need and let us finish this war before it comes on your doorstep, before there's no more Ukraine, because the blood in Ukraine is on those politicians' hands. There is no simpler way to put it. We're not giving up the east of Ukraine. We're not giving up Donbas. There's not one Ukrainian soldier in this country who would want that to happen. And I know I speak for all of them when I say that. And not one civilian who's got any brains in their head would think that either.
Yeah. Thank you for your message. It's very emotional, and it's very tragic, because we know that Ukraine is wait for the Western supply and Western weapons, and the time is really running out. And we hope that we do the best we can on our places.
Thank you.
I hope that your message will go through the internet, through the YouTube channel, to the ears of the Western politicians or decision makers, and they decided to do their work as fast as they can. And
thank you, Stanislav. I hope so too. You know, God blessed me with hands of a medic, and He's blessed me with a mouth and an English tongue, and most of the world speaks English these days, it would seem. So I'm only trying to help raise awareness and help bring desperately needed help for Ukraine. Thank you for hearing me. And please push this message out as far and wide, as loudly as you can, brother. We're counting on you. We're on the same team here, mate. And I need you, and, you know, me and the CSU, we're out here protecting the rest of Ukraine, but just as much, we need you to help us, to get us the tools that we need to protect the rest of Ukraine. So thank you for your mission, and thank you for what you are doing, because without your voice, without your tools,